There are 12 propositions presented to the California voters in this general election. Proposition 1, High-speed train bond. Proposition 2, Treatment of farm animals. Proposition 3, Children hospital bond. Proposition 4, Parental notification. Proposition 5, Nonviolent offender. Proposition 6, Criminal penalties. Proposition 7, Renewable energy. Proposition 8, Limit on marriage. Proposition 9, Victims' rights. Proposition 10, Renewable energy bond. Proposition 11, Redistricting. Proposition 12, Veterans bond. The 12 propositions falls into several broad categories. Transportation and fuel efficiency. This consists building rail line from Los Angeles to San Francisco, mandating alternate energy sources up to 50% by 2025, and provide free money giveaways to people buying fuel-efficient vehicles. Social and humanitarian. This consists hospital bonds, parental notification of underage teenagers seeking abortion, and same-sex marriage. Political. This consists same-sex marriage that addresses social cultural of our times and reworking the redistricting of the voters' boundaries to break the incumbent's stronghold in both parties to allow other candidates getting a chance to serve public office. And crime. This consists handling of non-violent criminals to avoid jail time, managing criminals and allowing victims to have a greater say in criminal who affected them. 3 of the propositions are bonds. These bonds have merits and probably should be passed, but given the climate at Sacramento budget mess, and we should not forget higher fuel costs is translating higher food cost and everything else, we should not pass 2 of the 3 measures. We have dozens and dozens of existing bonds that we are on the hook to pay for. We simply cannot continue forever borrowing money for our children and grandchildren to pay. Sacramento needs to budget these projects rather constantly borrowing money. What needed is to kick out all the politicians at Sacramento and vote in people who can balance the budget and know the difference between what is important and what is fluff. This is why Proposition 11 can help the situation. We had passed a proposition to impose term limits on our politicians, but it's not helping much. Our Sacramento politicians have not balanced the budget on time for several years, and it does not look things will improve anytime soon. One of the problems they faced is various expenditures such as public education mandate. Another major problem is they cannot raise taxes without a 2/3 majority, which neither party has control, which has been a very good thing. Otherwise, the Democrats would simply keep raising the state taxes to fund their favorite feel-good project. The other side of the equation is the people of California are getting tired of waiting for the politician to do what is needed for the state. Instead, the people get various propositions on the ballot for every election encouraging the Californians to accept new bonds. This has created a mob rule democracy by the people. Of course, we largely created much of the problems ourselves by consistently voting these people into office. Things would improve significantly if the politicians are honest to state their goals and how they intend to implement their policies. Also, the mainstream media are not objective and unbiased in their reporting of the news as intended in the freedom of speech enshrined in our Constitution. Instead, there are lots of lying and spinning versus being honest. Lastly, Proposition 8 limiting marriage to a man and woman will be hotly contested issue we faced not only for the state, but also for the whole country. The proposition wants to add, only marriage between a man and a woman is valid or recognized in California, to the state constitution. Proposition 22 was previously passed to inhibit elected officials in Sacramento to pass any laws recognizing same-sex marriage. However, the California Supreme Court can override the law, since it is not in the Constitution. Our Hollywood culture has been consistently normalizing homosexuality in their TV shows and movies. You cannot watch any show without overt praising of homosexuality. The only question the voters are faced with is, do we discard thousands of years that marriage is essentially always been between man or woman, or we remake our morality in an image of man. Most people really do not have a problem for domestic partnership, which allows their partner various protection of their health and financial assets. Proposition 8 does not remove this benefit. On the other hand, the same-sex opposition will claim it is not equal. Let's be clear, the homosexual agenda is to destroy Christianity. By instituting same-sex marriage, it will continue to erode the freedom of religion in this country. If we fail to pass Proposition 8, then the California Supreme Court ruling will create long-term effects. 1. Our children will have to be taught that homosexuality is normal. Otherwise, it will be viewed as hate speech. Also, there will be no legal reason not to allow polygamy and pedophiles, since these are consenting people. As the same-sex marriages further become codified into our laws, then any negative references would be considered hate speech. Hence, the Holy Bible will have to be outlawed. I know what you are thinking, that this is impossible, but folks, this is already happening in Europe and Canada. This Proposition 1 is a $10 billion bond with matching $9 billion federal funding to create a rail between Los Angeles to San Francisco. Upon completion of the line, other high-speed train segments will be created: Los Angeles to Irvine, San Diego, Sacramento, and Oakland cities. Although this is a worthy goal, vote no, because we cannot afford it now. This Proposition 2 will require farms to allow animals freedom of movement versus being crammed into a very small confined space. And, yes, there is a difference, such as farm eggs tasting better from hens have greater degree of movement. Vote yes, but you need to realize that this will cause the food prices continue to increase. This Proposition 3 is $900 million bond to upgrade various hospitals across California, consisting new construction, expanding existing hospitals, and earthquake improvements. The bulk of the funding will go to hospitals for children suffering from leukemia, cancer, heart disease, and other illnesses. This is a tough one. Nobody likes to see children suffering, but again, because we have so many existing bonds from previous propositions, as well pressure from Sacramento to raise taxes. And don't not forget, we already passed Proposition 61 in 2004 for $750 million bond, and that money is not spent yet. We cannot afford it. Remember to vote no. This Proposition 4 requires an underage teenager who is pregnant and requesting an abortion must wait 48 hours and notify her parents. Of course, pro-choice advocates would argue that sometimes a teenager may fear their parents and would risk abortion by non-professional abortionist. This is a strong argument, but majority of the parents loves their daughters. They may be disappointed, but the parents deserve to be notified, because they are still responsible for their children. Please vote yes. This Proposition 5 will require funding from the general budget to improve treatment and rehabilitation of the drug offenders or minor crimes. The downside to this measure is increasing an amount of paperwork is needed to maintain and document all the offender, although this is expected to reduce prison and parole operating costs. I do not believe new levels of bureaucracy will actually improve anything. I never seen bureaucracy saves any money. They just want reports, not results. Vote no. This Proposition 6 will require from the general budget to increase state spending to combat crime, gangs, and illegal immigration. Although this is not necessarily a good proposition, because this will simply continue hamper the politicians at Sacramento to balance the budget with another mandate managing the budget. Let's vote yes to continue curbing crime and illegal immigrants who have been charged with a crime.